probably right away what you don't like about it is you got fractions. So maybe you get rid of them before you ever start to try to find a way to make the denominator go away. But if you multiply this whole thing by 3, I don't want to double multiply by something big enough that will make it. What do you say? What would it multiply by 3?
Today's 27th, this is 20th.
Okay, everything you see multiplied by 12. So the idea to make those denominators go away, they're only denominators. You see fractions. I see a divide by 3 in one part of a problem. And I see a divide by 4 in another part of a problem. So to get rid of a divide by 3, you can multiply by 3. But I've also got a divide by 4 to get rid of, so you can multiply by 4. What are you really multiplying by if you multiply by 3 and 4? 12. So multiply everything you see by 12 and your life will get a lot better. Multiply everything you see by a 12 and life will get better. I'll be right with you. We're going to multiply everything by 12. So now let's make things look better. This is kind of like multiplied by 12 here. You can do this however you want. Lots of you probably see this like this. 12 times 2 divided by 3. So 24 divided by 3 is 8x. Plus 12 times 1, 12 divided by 4, 3. 2 times 12? 24. Or, before you go on, just look up here, and you might like this better. 3 into here goes 1. 3 into here goes 4. 4 times 2 is that same 8x. I like that better. A lot of other people don't. 4 into here goes 1. 4 into the 12 goes 3 times. 3 times 1 times y is 3y. I just think the number stays smaller, but other people would rather go 12 times 2 divided by 3. Now, start here. You still got to get y by itself. You're still working on getting the y by itself.
Title. The original problem put up there.
No, probably if it were called like the skill that you were practicing, people would probably say you're counting out the fractions.
What was the original equation?
Kind of putting a few things we learned together.
It is.
Beginning of the year when we're kind of going back to that multiplication.
Yeah, so that we don't forget anything.
The original one? Yeah, I thought it was, yeah.
It's easy for me to do.
Yeah, I know you kept it the same. You keep it working. So what is the
I picked a number that would both make my 3 and my 4. So a divide by 3 and a divide by 4. This was divide by 3, so if I multiply by 3, it'll make that go away. I need to multiply by 4 to make that go away. So if I'm going to multiply by 3 and multiply by 4, that's the same as multiplying by 12. So I'll just multiply that by 12, that's by 12, and that's by 12. Okay. You're probably in. Want to take over? Take over and tell me what to do? At this point, we're working on having that y by itself on the left. So we are going to subtract 8x's. So now it looks like 3y equals negative 8x plus 24. Working on the y by itself. Divide everything by 3. And we're finally there. Y is negative 8/3 x plus 24 divided by 3 makes 8. If we were graphing lines, what form is this? Slope-intercept. The original was not in standard form because it had fractions. The order was right. But just lots of times you rearrange for other things, and that was just practicing getting rid of those fractions and decimals like we had earlier in the year. So, we're pretty much today and for the next several days, we got a new topic we're working on. Adeline.
Okay, this is like kind of off topic, but what day are we on? Because I'm on day 3, and he's on day 5. I'm on day 2. I'm on day 3.
I'm on day 5.
Yeah, every class is different. I can't say. I just
And that's all day 2.
Everybody says that,
yeah. Sounds like the majority is that you just finished the
Well,
fifth
didn't
spot,
we,
right?
Yeah.
didn't we?
And
So
then-
don't forget, if you missed the day, you're supposed to put absent.
What's that?
Didn't we have the papers on the That's why you're probably off.
I had to, I had to.
I think you did, right?
Yeah, you're only missing the day, that's why I was.
Alrighty. Would you file that back away?
No, not yet.
Come from. Alrighty, everybody. Would you take your paper and turn it so that you can see the scales? Make sure you're reading the numbers right way. Just make sure your paper's not upside down. That you got 0, 5, 10, 15, or 0, 10, 20, 30, or something like that, so that it's turned the right direction. And would you go to the upper left? You don't even have to look closely in to read those a little bit. But would you do your best with a pencil, in case you don't like it and you want to change it, to just kind of draw an oval around all those points, the best that you can. Just cut it in the upper left-hand corner. Just draw an oval around the group of them, the entire group. Draw an oval, like the tightest oval that you could make. If you're going to corral them all in, draw just an oval around the whole group of them, but as close as you can that still includes all of them. And would you go and do that to each one? Go to each group and just loop around them so that it's as close as you can get, as close as fits to them. Yep, that's it. And then go to the next group, you know, and just loop them. Do all 4 groups. And now see if you can find a straight edge near you, so that you all have your own. You might need to get a couple more out there. It doesn't look like you got one, do you? Got a straight edge? It's nice if they're clear, if you can see through them. Here, this would be. So now would you go to each group and kind of, you know, alter it a little bit just so that you get a good one. And I just want you to draw one, not connect the dots zigzaggy, but just one straight line that you think kind of goes with the trend of all of those points that are in your loop. Kind of like an average. So just go to each one and see if you can draw a line where most of the points are kind of following that line. So use the edge of your straight edge. And I don't know that for that first group that there was really a good way to do that.
I just do it random.
Yeah, it'd be very random, and I think if you went around and looked at everybody's, I think the first group would look very, very different, that line that everybody drew. How about the upper right one? Look to the person next to you and look at theirs and see how it looks compared to yours. The upper right. Upper right. It's not going to be exactly like yours. Would you compare lower left? Look at somebody else's for the lower left. And then look at the lower right. Yeah. Now would you take some scissors and when you cut out those four? Yes. Cut out each four individually.
Is there another herb?
Maybe. I really want to do
How old are you?
Birthday? Yeah, your birthday.
Matt, it's your birthday? Your birthday?
Is your birthday, Mark?
I'm gonna say partial. Don't cut me yet. You bleed on stage, did you? Yeah, you're bleeding everywhere.
Blood, it's like some
You're going to, but there's a special cut.
You just cut until the time.
Yeah. A little fold back.
You can cut it and then fold it, because otherwise you're gonna cut it. Stick the air with that folded backwards, and you're gonna cut that. Just cut it.
And then, let's open up your notebook and go to page 44. So 44 will be the right side of the page. Go to page 44. Its title is Line of Best Fit. It's up on the chalkboard. Page 44. Go to page 44 and make a title that says Line of Best Fit. Then you're going to take the next half sheet and you're going to fold it up here on this tab just so that you have something to glue down to your paper. So you're just going to fold that little margin in. So you can fold that over. Once you've got the fold folded, then you can cut, but don't cut the whole way through. Cut so that they will make tabs. So you're just going to fold, Josh, and then you're going to cut the tabs apart.
Don't fold it until you cut it, otherwise you'll cut the tabs off.
Then the only part you're going to glue down on the page so that the tabs will lift up, you're just going to glue the folded down edge so that the other tabs will be able to be lifted up. So that, if you look up here, once it's in place, you will be able to lift up the tabs and we'll have some stuff underneath it.
You guys need a glue stick? That I can do for you.
Yes, on the right side. 44. Then you got a title of Line of Best Fit. Now once that's glued in place, let's take our little graph that we cut apart. Okay, you're not listening. You take your little graph, and which ones do you think are going to go under the tab called positive correlation? Do not do that again. Alright, get your book in place, you're behind. Let's get caught up. Go. You should have two graphs that fit that are positive correlation. They look like they have positive slope. When you look at your trend line, they both need to be taped under the tab of positive correlation. You should have two of them that are going uphill as positive correlation. Tape them both under positive correlation. And then you should have one that's going downhill, where your trend line goes downhill. That's going to go under negative correlation. And then there's one that was just a big open blob that really didn't have a good line that fit it. That's going to fit the no correlation. So this one really didn't have. So this is going to be your no correlation. And this one I think is going uphill positive. And I would say this one is going uphill positive. But do you see how this is going downhill like negative slope? So these are your two positives, there's your negative, and there's your no correlation. Yeah, that'd be fine, just side by side.
That's negative, right?
You can do anything.
Wait, what's this one?
That's the no. Yeah. If there's just not a good line, they're just not related at all, and we say no correlation.
Positive slope, negative slope. Isn't there two for the positive? You said you want weird though. You want yours to go backwards. No correlation.
There just wasn't a good line for that.
I did like. Well, because you had.
I know, it's just random.
Positive slope. See what you got. This is no correlation. Positive, you have a negative here, right? Nothing under best
Oh. We'll write something under there. We're gonna write something underneath line of best fit. So you had two that were pretty good positive up till line of best fit.
Did you get a laugh out of my comment yesterday? Did you get a laugh out of my comment?
I'm not sure if any of you guys heard, but I wasn't sure if she had already told you, but I am a music player, like before you guys told me. I wasn't sure if you guys did.
To be honest, underneath your graph for no correlation, if you drew a trend line and you're able to erase it, that's probably not a bad idea, because there's not really a good line that's following the trend of all of them. They're so random, they're so haphazard. There's not a good line of best fit. Underneath your tab that says line of best fit, let's write a definition out. So underneath your tab that says line of best fit, let's write a definition. And we're going to say that it describes the trend of the data. We will say it's an average line. Later on in the class period, it's going to turn out to be an equation that is used to predict values. When you're done with that, you can close your book and put it off to the side for a minute. Now we're going to put that to use. We're going to work this next half sheet together. Is this still in our book? It will be. I think it's always easier to do it on a flat desktop rather than on a funky staples and tapes and bumps and let's work through this together. Let's use a pencil. So if you want to make some changes, you can make some good changes. Whenever we graph a scatter plot, I saw this little acronym once that I thought was pretty good to help you make a good graph. That was called TAILS. And so whenever you're making a graph, it needs to have a title. The A stands for the axes. And on those axes, you want to have a good interval. That's an R, intervals. And we'll just do all these things. We want to have labels on our axes. And we want to watch out that we have good spacing. So just kind of be cognizant of all of those. So we're going to first create a scatter plot with our data that we have here. So let's make a scatter plot. So biking home, you know, I think it's got a title. See that one already in place that says biking home? I think that's a good enough title. I think I'd maybe just circle it. Call that by title. See biking home? You can write it again if you want. But just do something to remind yourself that, okay, I need a title on my graph. Okay, it says hours are going to go on the x-axis. You need your hours to go up to 8. We've practiced this before, getting good spacing. So you can number 1 to 8. But it might cramp your graph a little bit. That might be hard to do. Maybe you want to start with 0 and go every other is a 1, every other is a 2. So try to get good spacing that won't make your graph all cramped together. So let's get your x-axis all spaced out good. You got to get all the way to 8. And your miles is going to go up your y-axis. How high do you got to fit? You got to fit up to 35, so find a way to start at 0 and get spaced up to 35. I doubt you're able to count by ones. But again, try to make all of the use of your space if you can. How fives fit? Okay. And you don't have to number just like they did, though. You just need to find a good way to make your graph fit with kind of stretching it to the 35 if you can. Now we just start graphing your points. Go graph them as ordered pairs. Once you got all of your points in place, grab that straight edge and do like we did before. I don't want you to zigzag. I don't want you to go point to point to point to point to point to point to point. Draw a trend line that you think is the best fit for all those points. Maybe they mostly all fit on it.
It doesn't matter if it goes through.
No, it doesn't. Those are great questions. It doesn't matter if you go through the points. You might go through all of them. You might go through some. You might not go through any. But if they don't all fit, there ought to maybe be a few above, a few below. It ought to be balanced a little bit. And would you do this? Would you make that line go super duper long, make it extend beyond the first and the last point to go way off your paper? Ideally, you ought to be able to see where it would cross the y-axis. If you didn't make it long enough to see where it would cross the y-axis, you want to extend it. Yeah. All right, this next part, we might have differences, so follow along. You might want to do yours like I say I do mine. You might like something better, so just realize they don't have to be the same. I want you to go circle 2 points that are either on your line, or if you don't have any that made it exactly right smack on the line, circle 2 that are the closest to being on the line that you can find. So go circle 2 specific points of your points. And if you don't know where they hit, just use your chart up there. You know, you graphed them originally. I doubt there's any 2 of us that circle the exact 2, just the probability of that happening is not likely. But here's the 2 I circled. Just by chance, did it match anybody else's? Anybody pick the same 2? I told you, it'd be unlikely that you did that. So I need you down there, do you see these 3 bubbles? Look on your sheet. So you did number 2, you drew the line of best fit, right? Right? Then the first bubble says draw a line of best fit with the straight edge. Circle 2 points that are close or on that line. Third bubble, find the slope of those 2 points. So how about you write them out underneath the bubble, write out which 2 you used, and then go find the slope. Our slopes don't have to be the same. They're probably similar. I bet they're similar. What'd you get as a slope?
Well, I think the very first and the very last one.
That's okay.
I got -27.
So you went 8 over 35. Yeah, you did, didn't you? Okay.
That's what you did. Use the first one.
Oh, you switched these. Look. Here. This ordered pair is at 135. This is at 80, you wrote 08. Okay? I didn't think it'd be that different. That was. Everybody got a slope? It should be negative slope. Your line's clearly going downhill. So we might all have different slopes, but we should all have negative slope that's going downhill. This would also be called negative correlation, because as one number goes up, like time, the distance goes down. Like inverse variation, right? Like inverse variation. Uh-huh. You want me to see some? They might be similar. They're probably all going to be close to that, but we could have some 4s or 6s or 4.5s or something. Oh, yeah, I know, we're going to yet. We got to do all that yet.
I got the same solution.
Yeah, and they all should be similar. That's why I thought that you were wrong. Okay, the last part is the hard part. Here we go. We're going to make an equation.
Use the first 2 set of points, would you get a -6 slope?
It could be. It just needs to be close to -5. None of us have to all have -5s, it just needs to be negative. Some of you might have -4, some might have -6, some might have -5.5. So the very, very last thing on the paper, it says to make an equation. So if we're going to make an equation, we're going to use point slope. Write this out, write out your point slope formula.
We just pick one of those
And then we will, yes. So start out with point slope formula. You're going to use your slope. You're going to use one of the points that you picked. It doesn't matter which one, but it's got to be one of these two that you picked. It's got to be one of your original two. I think I'll use this one because it's got smaller numbers. And I'm going to use this as my slope. And I'm going to put them in point slope. We are not all going to come up with the same equation. Don't think we're all going to land the same. They'll be similar. They're not all going to be the same. Make sure you put the x's in for x's and not the y. Now we can kind of see how good of a job you did, even though we've all got different answers. We are able to kind of compare some things.
What point did you use?
So let's see, 6 minus 20, 7 minus 4, negative 14 over 3. Okay. So y minus the 6, slope, x minus the 7. Okay. That's okay. You might get decimals, that's okay. So go ahead and finish it up, alright? Go ahead and finish it up until you have a slope-intercept form of an equation, of an answer. So go ahead and put that in slope-intercept so we can see how you did with your points. You need to make your equation, Tristan. Let's go. Get caught up with point slope.
It's hard to see that. You're not. Good. Good job. I went to glue it down and I started wiping it and it was just like, I don't even know what this
That's right. Yep, it is. Okay, here's how we check for what you did. What do you have? And then everybody's answer is different. What do you have as a y-intercept of the equation that you made? Now, go look at your graph. When you made that line of best fit, the line that you extended to see where it was going to cross your y-axis at, those should, it'd be really unique if they exactly matched, because this is just kind of eyeball, line of best fit, you know, but it should be pretty close. So check to see, does your y-intercept of your equation match your graph? That does go at page 43 with the same title, line of best fit. That is your page 43 as line of best fit. And your homework is you're going to practice that once again. So you've got, if you kept track today, if you finished and you followed and you wrote out all your steps, you've got a great example to follow for your homework. You've got a homework worksheet coming at you. You're going to do exactly the same thing.
And it's biased to McDonald's, by the way. I don't care, I don't eat it either.
But that's...
I don't even know.
That's right.
Hear what I said? Is there a heavy metal version of Rockabye?
Yeah, you're Y by yourself. You're gonna have this one.
Huh?
Now it had a, for some reason it's got 6 Y's, and somehow you're gonna have to divide by 6.
Did you get Rockabye when you were a kid?
It all to itself. I think you're pretty close to being at 40, wouldn't you? You're pretty close to 40? You'll have a seat, I'll come around and show you your test score if it was finished yesterday, I'd come around and get it. So, you go back to your seat then, I'll just find you a
I know what this is too, I just can't.
Mine too. Me here tomorrow, start 4th period?
This is all.
Okay?
This is Van
Start
Halen.
4th period.
It's Van Halen, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just can't think of. Thank
No,
you.
there's another one, he's just going
Yeah,
at
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
This is hot for teachers. This is my jam right here.
I'm sorry, Carrie, let me know that stuff. Go back, take the question started.